is part 2 of section 3.1, 3.2. In the previous section, we solved one-step equations that had addition or subtraction in them. Now we're going to move on to division and multiplication. So we do have two more properties here, which work similarly to the other ones. So here it says if A equals B for our division property, then I know that A divided by C, oh, that didn't work at all. Let's try that again. A divided by C, well, it doesn't like me there. Let's try over this one. A divided by C will equal B divided by C. Okay. So again, let's go through an example. Let's say I have 8 equals 8. So this A equals B. The left side equals the right side. And my division property says that I can divide both sides by the same number. So let's say I take 8 divided by 2. And if I divide the left side by 2, I divide the right side by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So I end up with an equivalent equation as long as I divide both sides by the same number. And it's the same thing for the multiplication property too. If A equals B, then I know that A times C is going to equal B times C, similar to the process over here. Okay, so let's do some practice problems. Alright, let's start with problem number 1. Again, we're going to look at the letter, and the idea is to get rid of what's with the letter. So remember, if two things are side by side, we know that those are multiplied together. So here when I have y, what they did to y was they multiplied it by -6. Okay? And the opposite of multiplying by -6 is to divide by -6. Okay? I keep the sign the same. Okay, it's not like addition and subtraction where the opposite of -6 is +6. Here, to get rid of multiplying by -6, I'm going to divide by -6. And if I divide the left side by -6, I divide the right side by -6. My 6 will cancel, leaving me y equals, and -84 divided by -6 will be 14. Okay. Alright, let's try number 3. So again, I'm looking at my letter here, which is A. What they did to A was they multiplied it by 19. The opposite of multiplying by 19 is to divide by 19. And if I divide the right side by 19, I divide the left side by 19. Oops, that's not 19. Try that again. We divide by 19. Okay. So I'm left with A on the right side. Again, my A is on the right side here, so I'm going to leave it on the right side in my answer. 418 divided by 19 is 22. So again, I'm taking it and I'm doing the opposite of what is with the letter. So what was with the letter in number 1 was -6. So I'm going to divide by -6. In number 3, they multiplied by 19. So I'm going to divide by 19. Let's try 4 and 6 here real quick. So when I look at the letter, my letter here is K. What they did to K was they multiplied it by -17. So the opposite of multiplying by -17 is to divide by -17. If I divide the right side by -17, I divide the left side by -17. Because remember, what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. My 17s will cancel, leaving me with -136 divided by -17, which is 8. Same thing on number 6. What they did to C here, this time I have C, was they multiplied by 15. The opposite of multiplying by 15 is to divide by 15. So my 15s here will cancel. And if I divide my left side by 15, I divide the right side by 15. Remember, what I do to one side, you have to do to the other. If it helps you to draw that line down here with the equal sign, that way you can see both sides, you can do that. So I'm left with C equals 600 divided by 15 is 40. Okay, so this is what it looks like when we need to get rid of multiplication. The next section below is how we get rid of division. So let's take a look at problem number 7. So when I look at 7, what they did to the letter D, okay, my letter D is here, what they did to D was they divided by 9. The opposite of dividing by 9 is to multiply by 9. And we show it as multiply by 9. Right? My 9s will cancel. And again, if I multiply the left side by 9, I multiply the right side by 9. So with my 9s canceling, I'm left with D equals 11 times 9 is 99. Okay, again, just doing the opposite. Whatever they did, I'm going to undo it. Okay, so when I look at number 9, I have G. What they did to G was they divided by negative 32. The opposite of dividing by negative 32 is to multiply by negative 32. Again, I do not change the sign when I'm doing a division and multiplication. And if I multiply the right side by negative 32, I multiply the left side by negative 32. My negative 32's will cancel here, leaving me just with G. And then negative 32 times 22 is negative 704. Okay, again, let's do one more. Let's do 11 here. So when I look at my letter, and the idea is to get my letter, which is W, by itself. What they did was they divided by negative 12. So I'm going to multiply by negative 12. I multiply the right side by negative 12. I multiply the left side by negative 12. 12's cancel, leaving with W. And negative 12 times 15, or negative 12 times negative 15 is 180. We have 3 more down at the bottom that I want to look at real quick before we do our next checkpoints. We have 13, 14, and 15. So sometimes we can simplify before we start to solve our problems by combining like terms. So when I look at 13, I have 9m minus 6m. I can combine those before I do anything else. Because if at all possible, I only want one letter. So 9m minus 6m is 3m. Okay, so I've just combined 9m minus 6m. 9 minus 6 is 3m. Okay. Now it's just like the other one was. What they did to m was they multiplied by 3. So I'm going to divide by 3. Both sides by 3. 21 divided by 3 is 7. Okay. Again, when I look here, I can simplify this by multiplying it out. So 144 is going to stay the same. I can't do anything over there. But I know that negative 8 times 2x is negative 16x. Okay, so again, I simplify before I solve the problem. So they multiplied by a negative 16. I'm going to divide by negative 16. Both sides. Okay, if I divide one side by negative 16, the other side has to be divided by negative 16 as well. So it leaves me just with x equals 144 divided by negative 16 is negative 9. Okay, last one here before we do our checkpoints. Here I have 17 plus 4 on the bottom. I can put those together first. So I have b over 17 plus 4 is 21. Okay, so again, I combine those first, and then I solve. So what they did to b was they divided by 21. So I'm going to multiply by 21. Both sides, and my 21s will cancel. Leave me with b equals negative 4 times 21 is negative 84. So again, we solved problems that had multiplication, problems that had division, and the ones that we had to simplify first before we solved. So at this point, you're going to stop, and you're going to do section 3.1, 3.2, checkpoints 3, 4, and 5. So you're going to stop and do checkpoints number 3, 4, and 5.